On today's episode of the Leadership Launchpad, I'm going to give you 3 practical tips that you can start using today to build the level of trust on your team. Hello and welcome. My name is Matt Jertson. I'm the founder of Better Everyday Studios, and as you can see, I'm filming this week out on the road. I'm at a learning and development conference, so hopefully the audio is okay, but I wanted to make sure to get this episode out this week because we're talking about trust, which to me is an absolutely fundamental element of building a high-performing team that often gets missed, or at least the conversation around it isn't really what I think it should be. It's not as practical as it should be. If you've ever read the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni, but by the way, if you haven't read it, you really need to. It's a thin book, it's a short read. You can get through it easily in a week. In that book, Patrick Lencioni lays out this framework of 5 dysfunctions that a team has to overcome in order to create a high-performing environment. And it's arranged as a pyramid where the bottom layer is this foundation of trust. And I think, if you think about it, when we talk about performance, very often we talk about the work that has to get done, the tools that we're using, making sure people have enough resources, making sure people are focused and know what they're going to be doing. But that's missing a lot, because if we don't talk about the relationships of the people, if we don't talk about whether or not people are in a trusting environment, or as Amy Edmondson would call it, a psychologically safe environment, then the truth is that people aren't going to be showing up. They're not going to be doing the best work possible. Not only are they maybe not going to be as invested in the work as they could be, but also if you just think about the kinds of things that come out of trust, they're not going to share their ideas as regularly because for fear maybe of getting put down. Or if somebody else is sharing an idea and they have concerns, they're not going to raise their hand. If the leader is sharing something and they have concerns, they're certainly not going to raise their hand and say, "Hey, boss, I think something's wrong," if you're not, if they don't have that trusting relationship in place. When people do talk about trust, the challenge with the conversation, as I hear it, is that it's not in a very practical sense of what are the practical ways that you can build trust on your team. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. 3 simple, practical tips that you can use to start building trust on your team. And the first of those is simply to start asking about the people on your team, not about the work that they're doing, but about them as a person. And I get, I've worked in a lot of technical organizations and I've been a technical person, and I totally understand the desire to want to focus on, okay, what's the next task? Are there any blockers? You just zero in on getting the work done. But whenever you have a one-on-one with people on your team, or even if you stop and you're getting coffee or something, you should really make sure to chat about, ask them questions about things going on in their lives or things going on outside of work. Because I had kind of a mic drop moment several years ago at a leadership training that I was in, where somebody was kind of sitting in the room and he asked everybody, okay, how many has kids? And how many people have kids? And a bunch of people raised their hand. How many people would say that their kids are more important than their work? And of course, everybody raised their hand. How many people would say that their kids are the most important thing in their lives? And basically everybody who had kids raised their hand. Then he asked them, okay, so of all this is all managers in the room, how many of you can give the names of the kids of the people on your team? Nobody could raise their hand. Nobody could say could tell the names of the people on their team, the kids of the people on their team. And so he just pauses. So you're telling me that everybody on your team that has kids, the kids are the most important thing in their lives, but you do not even know their names. Why do you think they're going to bring their best selves to work? Why do you expect to get absolutely the most out of them? There's no way you can possibly do that if you don't understand this fundamental part of their lives. And it was just such an aha moment for me. Of course, we can always say, oh, I don't care about the work, personal stuff. I want to keep personal and work separately. And if there's people on your team like that, that's totally respect that. But just asking simple questions like, what did you do this weekend? Or, is there anything you're building up to in your life? What do you want to do next year? Or, where do you want your career to go? Those can go a long way to start building a relationship between you and the people on your team that isn't just based on work. And then the second tip I have is that you get those conversations happening between people on your team as well. And you can use many of those same questions of, what did you do this weekend, or what's the last book you read? But just introduce those questions in a team environment. You spend the first 5 minutes of every team meeting talking about those other kinds of non-work things so that people can start to get connected as individuals, as people, instead of coworkers. I've seen it firsthand how much that can transform people's ability to, give somebody grace, understand, give them the benefit of the doubt if they make a mistake, to actually, try to work with each other to help improve. If you can use these simple 5 minutes of just talking about non-work things, it can go a long way to really helping people feel more safe and secure in their team. So those are really simple things that you can do in your next one-on-one, in your next team meeting. They don't take a lot of effort. This third step does take a little bit more effort, and it's by filling out, the tip is filling out something that I call a user manual for me. And if you think about it, what is a user manual? A user manual is just, how do you use this thing? And anybody that you've worked with, probably if you've worked with them for 6 months, 12 months, you get to know them as an individual in a way where you know the best way to work with them, right? How to give them feedback. What's the best way to send them an email? Do they even want an email? Or is it better to walk up to them and say hello? There's all these things. And a user manual for me is just an attempt to, you sit down and you write it out for yourself so that you can give it to the people on your team and they immediately know, what's the best way to convince you of an idea? What are the traits in somebody that you most respect? What are the traits in someone that annoy you the most? Just this simple list. And I'll link to an example that I have in the show notes below. So that, the idea is that you fill this out and give it to your team, especially new team members, so they instantly know the best way to work with you. But then, if you're up for this, you also have them fill it out as well. And it can be a really great team building exercise, right? Where, it's kind of like filling out a personality assessment and then discussing it amongst the team, except I kind of like this because it's a little bit more direct. It's not, filling out a personality assessment. It gives you your personality and then tells you all these things about you. You're just writing down those things about you and saying, what annoys me, or what I like most, or what brings me energy. And so it can be a really great discussion where I've seen teams, uncover wholly new ways of working together just through taking, it can be a hour-long discussion as long as people, take the time beforehand to fill it out, and then you just have a quick discussion. Again, the key to this is finding ways to connect people not just through work, but as individuals. Because if you want to build a high-performing team, the key thing is finding ways to get people to work together. That is what creates a high-performing team. So those are the 3 simple tips. First, you start connecting with the individuals on your team directly about non-work stuff. Then get the people on your team connecting on non-work stuff. And then you can use something like a user manual for me to just go a little bit deeper and have a really good discussion about the best ways to work together. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you again next time on the Leadership Launchpad. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoy the discussion as much as I did. If you want to see more discussions like this, then make sure to check out some of the videos right over there. And while you're at it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It really helps improve our reach and gives us the fuel we need to bring you more of these great conversations. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and we will see you next time on the Making Better podcast.